Recently, I received a message or a letter, a question in the blog saying, what would you do and how do you get out of the sidelines and into the mainstream and allow yourself to be, you know, uh, in the limelight, you might say, a leadership role, and you're holding back and you're kind of just playing on the sidelines, not really engaged. Well, like I've mentioned in many of my talks, people have a set of priorities in life, and when they're living by their highest priority, they wake up their leadership role. When they're doing things that are lower in priorities, they wake up their followership role. If somebody is perceiving that they're not moving into leadership role, there could be a number of reasons. One is that they what they think is important to their life isn't really important, and they have this fantasy that they should be doing this. So I would be listening to the language, whoever's asking this, listen to the language. Are you saying I should be doing that? I should be more in that role. I ought to be more in that role. I got to be in that role. I must be in that role. I need to be in that role. If it is, it's not really important to you. You just think it is. You're supposed to be doing it. And if that's the case, then it's not your highest value, and you're living more in what is valuable to you, but you're expecting yourself to live in somebody else's values, which is self defeating. And then you wonder why you're not taking action on it. That'd be like me saying, well, I should be out there cooking. I ought to be cooking more. I need to be cooking more. I'm not going to do that because I don't cook. I haven't cooked since I was 24 years old. I've delegated that to specialists for decades. So, but if I had the expectation I should be, I would be on the sidelines. I wouldn't be taking action on it, wouldn't be in the leadership role in that. So, anytime you're hearing yourself saying, I'm not taking action and I'm kind of on the sidelines, that's one option, one possibility. Another is that you've got association, fears associated with all of a sudden taking and getting in the limelight, taking action, taking accountability, and taking on leadership roles. So what you do is make a list of all of the different things that you are frightened if that's going to happen if all of a sudden you did. What is your fears? See, every decision you make is based on what you believe will give you the greatest advantage over disadvantage, greatest reward over risk, greatest positives over negatives in your mind. That's how our amygdala works. It avoids a predator and seeks a prey, avoids challenge, seeks ease, avoids the negatives and seeks the positives. That's our amygdala. It's not our executive function. That's our amygdala. So what we're doing is if we have this fear about taking on that leadership role, then identify what are those fears. And fear is simply an imbalanced ratio of perception. That's all it is. It's an assumption that you're about to experience in the future through your senses or imagination, more negatives and positives, more pains and pleasures as a result of some action or something that's about to happen to you. And these aren't true. There are no negatives or positives without negatives or negatives without positives. There always comes a pair. So if you go in there and find out if I was to take action on it, what would be the benefits and stack up the benefits? If the benefits outweigh the drawbacks, you'll take action. If they don't, you'll hesitate. So a lot of people are sitting on the sidelines because they're afraid of going into the other because they perceive that there's more disadvantage than advantage doing it. So they're not going to. And they perceive, even though they're bitching about it, there's more advantage over here. Even though they say I should be doing that, but I'm not, that's because of an injected value usually. Over here, they're basically feeling more comfortable. That's why they're staying in their comfort zone. You're not going to break through a comfort zone and go into something else unless you can perceive that there's going to be more advantage and disadvantage. And if you break through it and just take the actions on it, you'll discover there's lots of advantages, but you haven't taken the time to do that. So I would make a list of all the things you think are the disadvantages, make a list of them all, write them down, and write down how, even that happening, how does that benefit you? And how can you use it to your advantage and mitigate the risks of that and find out how it does, or find out an alternative way of getting it done without having to have that repercussion, that disadvantage. You can either, with strategic planning, you can dissolve the risk, or you can go through and find out the benefits where it's not even a factor in your mind anyway. If you do, you'll take actions on it. And don't try to do it all at once. Do it in increments. Do little steps. Baby steps make big dreams. If you move a little bit in that direction, you make actions on it. And you get where you want to go by doing those little baby action steps. So again, make sure that what you say, if you're on the sidelines, that what you say is in the mainstream, is in the leadership role, that it's really something that's really high in your values. Otherwise, it's just an expectation to think you should or ought to or supposed to, which means you've injected it from somebody else you've admired and compared yourself with them, and you're beating yourself up because you think you should be like them. That'd be like, I had a lady that lived here on the ship that I live on, and she was a fitness guru. and she lived in the gym basically from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And she used to say to me, she says, John, you need to be in this, you should be in this gym more. You should be here more, 3 or 4 times a week, and everything else. And I had fun with her, and I laughed and smiled at her. I said, you should be in the library. You should be writing more books. You should be doing this. And she said, oh, there I go projecting my shoulds onto you. I said, yeah, that you have a different set of values than I do. If I try to live in your values, I'll self-defeat, beat myself up, and think I should be doing this. And I'm sitting on the sidelines. I'm not acting, I'm procrastinating. And they're doing the same thing on what I'm projecting. So don't let other people's expectations and projections and people that you admire in their injections interfere with what your real ambitions are. Find out what's really a priority. Go on my website and do the value determination process and find out what's really valuable to you and stick to priorities. If you do things that are really priority, you're more likely to embrace the pains and pleasures equally in the pursuit of something meaningful. If not, you're more likely to want to avoid a pain and seek a pleasure. And if you don't break through and find out the benefits of what you think is the pains, you'll probably procrastinate, hesitate. So take the time to find out the benefits of the worst case scenarios and mitigate the risks and find alternative ways of getting around to get what you want and take out those actions if it is. Or honor the very values you have and realize that you're a leader in your own values, not somebody else's. I'm a leader in the human behavior area. I'm not a leader in sports. I'm not a leader in cooking. I'm not a leader in those areas. So if I was to have an expectation on any of those areas, I'd beat myself up and think I'm on the sidelines. So beware of what you think is the sidelines. It may not be. You may be doing something that's meaningful to you, and you may be expecting it should be according to somebody else's values. So check all those out. And if it is something that's truly meaningful to you, but you're hesitating, find out the benefits, stack up the benefits of what happens, because fears are simply imbalanced ratios of perception that can be conquered.